How you doing, everyone? Hope you're well. It's freezing. I made a video like last week, I think, and I was saying how nice it is that like the leaves are changing colours and stuff. Like, I stand by that, but it's getting cold. And I've just been in Scotland, and that's seriously cold. And I think I've brought some of that back with me. Do you ever feel like you're being trolled? So when I was away, I saw this story of this, is it Kabatu? Is that his name? The guy, the migrant guy that was staying in the asylum hotel in Epping, the Bell Hotel, is that right? See, he was found guilty of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl and an adult female as well, and sentenced to a year in prison. That's already trolling, by the way. So you're not only, you know, a sexual abuser, but you're also a paedophile. So a paedophile and a serial sexual abuser gets a year in prison. Like I say, that's already trolling. And then when you add on to that the fact that two of the lads that were protesting against it got 2 years in prison, so it's more of a prison sentence for protesting against a serial sex offending nonce than it is to be one. And then I see, I'm walking through Stingers now. Then I see that he's accidentally been released from prison. I don't know how you do that. Well, you don't do that. That's the truth of it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have not gone to prison before for a crime, although, do you know what I mean, give it time. I'll probably say something one day that will lead me to go there. But I did go into Parkhurst prison when I was younger, as in a previous life. I really am in Stingers now. In a previous life as a musician. And I went to help with a friend of mine who was a prison guard at Parkhurst, and he'd basically brought in some musical equipment and stuff to try and teach some of the inmates how to use, you know, it was Cubase, I think software was. And so he wanted a mate of his who was a musician to come in and kind of work with these inmates. And so I did. I went in. It was a you know, quirky experience. I got some grief for going in and working with inmates, but you get grief for everything, don't you? But it was, you know, they were nice enough guys. They'd obviously done horrible things, you know, violent criminals, like in their younger years. They were in their 40s by this point, and were just chilled out guys. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you this is what I had to go through just to get in, and then what I had to go through just to get out was insane. And bear in mind, I'm just a guy with an acoustic guitar. Now I remember it because as I was leaving, I was being escorted out by the governor, who'd also escorted me in. As he's escorting me out, I saw this woman in one of the wings where they've got people on remand, you know, for lesser crimes, and they're awaiting, you know, court dates or whatever. And I spotted her and I recognised her. I thought, I swear that woman drinks in the pub that I used to drink in. A bit cray-cray, but nice enough. Anyway, so she goes, oh, shouts me. Bear in mind I'm with the governor, so shouts me. I went, all right. She went, I knew they'd get you. I knew they'd get you. So I started laughing, because she's clearly on the wind-up. The governor's gone dead quiet. Why she said that? And I went, oh, she's mucking around, mate. Like, she drinks in the pub I drink in. She's, like, mucking about. All right. Okay. And he started sort of probing more and more. And he didn't really want to let me out, to be honest. He didn't really want to let me out. He thought, like, she was onto something. And so he does let me out, obviously, in the end. But through, like, three different protocols to get me out, through different doors and numbers of keys and all that sort of gubbins. So I'm thinking, if it's that hard for me to get in and to get out as a guy that's basically just got an acoustic guitar and is going to go and work with some, you know, inmates, teaching them how to use Cubase software, then you'd think a man who's just been found guilty of committing sexual assault against an adult and a child would be slightly harder to get out of prison, wouldn't you? And then you throw in the fact that, bear in mind, you've had all that stuff going off in Epping. It's all been kicking off. You've had all that stuff going on. It's been all over the news. Loads of division been sowed between, you know, different factions. You've had people counter-protesting there, which I've got to say, ladies and gentlemen, I don't understand. So you've got people protesting the sexual assault of a kid, and then people counter-protest that. But then they think they're the ones that are being moralistic. That explain that to me like I'm 5. It's over my head. Anyway, you've got this whole furore around the Bell Hotel, around Epping and all that kind of stuff. So with that in mind, there's around about 88,000 people, I think, around about 88,000 people in prison in the United Kingdom at the moment. And that's the one they release, accidentally. Seriously? Are we buying that? And so then you ask yourself, well, why? Well, the obvious thing is, and I saw a lot of people saying this, and I've said the same thing at the time, oh, I wonder if they'll say, if he had digital ID, then he wouldn't have got out. You know, we'd have had facial recognition or whatever, and he couldn't have possibly escaped. And, you know, maybe there's something in that. Definitely in the facial recognition. The other aspect, I think, at play here is the human error part of it. So as I understand it, when I'm talking to you now, they're blaming it, I think, on 1 or 2 people that have cocked up basically to let this guy out. And like I said, the amount of things that you'd need to go through to be released, it's not going to fall down just to like one guy being an idiot. It's not going to. So the fact that they're telling us that, no, you know, tells me they're lying. So maybe then, if that's what they do, they blame this one person or those 2 people, you know, maybe they sack them or whatever, send them for retraining. I apologise for the wind, it's horrible, isn't it? Maybe that's part of it, maybe they do that. And I think, well, how to judge it then in terms of what's really happened here is what they do as a reaction to it. So what they do going forward. So they reprimand these people that have cocked up, whatever, you know. But then what gets introduced? And I wonder if the facial recognition is part of it. And so actually suddenly it's not down to humans to release inmates, it's then down to essentially the computer, AI, through facial recognition, whether that says no or not. So it's taking away from humans and it's giving more to machines that essentially you can't reason with, because if a computer says no, it says no, right? Now this is something that's coming in all aspects, in not least supermarkets, in terms of whether you can buy stuff or can't buy stuff dependent on your carbon footprint and all that sort of nonsense. That's no mistake that, you know, the old lady at the checkout has been replaced, you know, the old lady at the checkout that you can reason with has been replaced by machines that you can't reason with. Obviously, they're machines. Now another part of this, I think, and it's something I've spoken about before when I've been doing various walk and talks and on different shows, is that they are targeting different groups in terms of digital ID. So they're targeting, you know, people going to the pub, they'll target people if they want to go on holiday, they'll target people going to football or going to concerts or the cinema and picking on people in that sense to try and basically get you to agree to something because you couldn't possibly give up Saturday at the football. You know they're going to do that kind of stuff. And I've got to travel because of my job, so I have to get it. Same as they did with the jab. Make it very difficult for people to basically not comply with it and stuff like that. So that would be an element. But another part of it, I think, which is quite important. How you doing, mate? Yeah. Hey, all right. Hey, doggy. Another part of it that I think is quite important is when they want to introduce something to basically normalise it so it will then spread, because that's what happens. It comes in small pockets and then it becomes normalised and accepted, and then people go, well, it worked in that, so, you know, it's not nefarious, look. And when they do it, they target groups that no one's got any skin in the game for. So if you want to bring in some kind of, you know, dystopian surveillance state, digital ID, control grid stuff, and you want to bring it in for inmates, don't you? Bring it in for people that have committed crime, because ain't no one going to stick up for them. And also, with them, you can sell it as a fear thing. Look, you know, you've got this sexual predator that's just been released because we don't have this in place. If we had this in place, we could keep your kids safe, as if they care. And I noticed that they did this recently with the with football hooligans. So they brought in these police forces across the United Kingdom. We're using this. I think it used to be known as like smart water, but I think it's gone a slightly higher level than that in terms of the technology. But it's basically like a water thing with a DNA signature that you can't wash off. So they basically paint it on you, and then it stays on your skin, this DNA marker, for like 6 months or whatever. Now that's pretty Orwellian shit, right? But no one said anything about it. Oh, you know, yeah, by the way, the police force and the state, you know, they're going to paint your skin with like DNA stuff that you can't wash off. In theory, you'd be going, what? If they said they were going to do that to your kids, you'd go, what? But where it's football hooligans, well, no one's got skin in the game for football hooligans, have they? So it's fine, so no one says anything. So then it comes in and it gets used, and then they can say how successful it was, so then they can try and use it in the future, and they can say, look, we used it on these people, and it was fine, we used it for 10 years or more, it's not a problem. And people go, oh, well, yeah, I suppose, yeah, well, they've used it for 10 years or more, it must be all right then. Suddenly it's everywhere. And it's like, yeah, but we would have opposed it, but you got it in because you used it on the undesirables, and no one stuck up for them because, like I say, no one's got skin in the game for a football hooligan. So I wonder if that's what's at play here, folks. Another part of what's at play, definitely, is what I opened this little walk and talk thing with, which is they're trolling. They're taking the mick. They want to wind you up. That's why the first guy that they deported in the one in, one out thing, which is already a joke, isn't it? Imagine that. We've got 60,000 people coming to the country that we know of, illegally under Labour, so let's send one back. I mean, that's trolling. In fact, it would be less annoying in a way to just send none back and just go, well, we're not going to send any back. But to go, well, send one. We'll send one. It's like giving someone one peanut. There you go. Oh, I didn't share some peanuts. Yeah, there's one peanut. I'd rather you didn't give me any peanuts than give me one, because that's pointless. But not only that, not only did they give you one peanut, they then took the peanut back off you. So the first guy that they sent back and deported of the one in, one out scheme, which, like I say, is already a joke, but the first person they sent back was back within a month. And I looked at that and I laughed. I did laugh, ladies and gentlemen, although I obviously oppose mass immigration, what it's doing to the country. I laughed because I was like, they want me to get angry. That's the point. I'm supposed to get angry and I'm supposed to start shouting at walls. But I didn't. I just laughed because I'm like, oh, they are trolling. Like, they are just taking the mick. And so I think this is probably part of it as well. Like I say, 88,000 people, give or take, in UK prisons. And the one that they accidentally release is this dude. No chance, mate. No chance. So in my view, ladies and gentlemen, it's a combo of the two. It will be used to basically make humans look stupid. So human error. Humans can't be trusted to be in control of security and stuff like that, so we need to bring in more infrastructure that's based on AI and facial recognition, stuff like that, digital ID, that kind of infrastructure, so we don't have to rely on humans because we're just useless anyway, aren't we? So that will be part of it. Targeting that particular set of the population, you know, criminals essentially. I say essentially because not everyone in prison of that 88,000 is a criminal, by the way, of course. But targeting them because no one's going to stick up for them. And then once they get that infrastructure in, it becomes normalised and whatever. And then the third aspect, like I say, they're trolling, mate. They are laughing at us. They are laughing at us.